So what I'm trying to, and you and I talked about this early on about the fractional work because you mentioned that you have also seen some in 2025 businesses going good. You have new business coming in, but I've seen that happen recently as well. There is more and more people who subscribe to the fractional approach where and in this case, she was telling me like, we need to hire a chief marketing officer. We need to do this and that. I'm like, why? Like go out and hire a person 1 day a week. If you're a startup, and let's say that you're making $3 to $5 million, and you have this beautiful candidate, amazing candidate coming from a large company, been doing W-2, corporate job, big company, it's the company you want to be 10 years from now. Don't hire that person. If they don't have a startup experience, they will never function in a smaller company. Because they are used to the W-2 unlimited budget,
Right,
everything's
right.
possible. I can delegate everything. That doesn't work in a startup.
When you spun off to kind of do this thing you're doing now, what was that transition like? Was it abrupt, and why did you decide to just bootstrap it and be scrappy?
Because I could invest more money and go quicker if I want to.
Yeah.
And you're right. And also we can talk about the mindset shift when you have a full executive team, hundreds of people, like, and budgets, deep pockets. Like it is a very different mindset. I felt.
Hi, I'm Matt Levenhagen, founder of Unified Web Design, Unified Plugins, and your host of the Builders Podcast. Here on The Builders, our goal is to uncover the first principles behind building businesses, products, and services. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you're listening. And if you find value in our content, a like, share, or review is always appreciated. Let's dive in and explore the roots of innovation and progress together. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another The Builders. Today, we are joined by Andreas Pettersson. Welcome to the show, Andreas.
Thank you so much for having me. And you nailed the name. You don't have to be worried.
Awesome. Great. That's important to me. So, Andreas, tell us a little bit quickly, like a 30-second snippet of what you do. Encapsulate that for me. I was going to try to figure that out beforehand, but I think you'll do a better job of describing.
Thank you. So first of all, English as second language, moved here 2014, have a long career, tech background, software engineer originally, founded a few companies, exited out of the W-2 corporate space, tech space, and I am currently doing two other things, which is number one, making sure that other entrepreneurs get out of their own way and scale up their businesses. And then I have a passion for real estate investing, so that's the other thing I do as well.
That's just a little passion on the side, real estate investing. Very cool. So what would you say you're a builder of what?
I am building people, actually. I have for the last 1.5 decade been helping people. I'm how do I say this? I'm really good at spotting diamonds in the rough and turning them into valuable assets, meaning I see people's true potential and I see what they often need to do in order for them to achieve the results, mindset, life they want to have. And I push people to take action to get there, because life is long if you know how to use it. But I meet a lot of people who walk around in life and saying life is short. And yeah, they say that because they're not doing anything about it.
Right. So I'm curious now. So you sound like it's pretty intuitive for you. You can look at somebody and see that diamond in the rough and identify those people that have potential and stuff. Where does that come from? Like, how did you, what does your journey look like? What's from your past? Like, you worked for companies, you had businesses, or is this a natural talent of yours?
Absolutely not. It's not natural. I would say there are 3 life events that have made me very curious on other people and myself. They always say the best psychologists, the best therapists are the most messed up people themselves. I, in my late 20s, early 30s, were really going through a lot of thought processes, trying to figure out who I am, what's sort of my self-worth, what's my confidence, where does confidence come from? Everyone else kept saying I'm an amazing leader, I should be leading bigger and bigger things, and I kept looking at myself like I don't want to be an authority, I don't want to lead. And then one day I realized that I'm naturally just doing it, and it was all a mindset problem. Worked with a psychologist, a leadership psychologist, to realize that person I still see or have as my mentor to this day.
Really?
And he's an amazing, intelligent guy. He works with similar to Fortune 500 CEOs in Europe. I got introduced to it's invite only, no website, no like public information about the guy. It's only references. And I was working for a company years ago where the CEO saw my potential and just said, look, I'm going to call in a personal favor and I'm going to see if I can get you in a room with this guy. And I'm not kidding. It was like 30 minutes in and I was crying and he just stuck a knife in instantly what my problems were. But amazing experience. Like it's the best thing could have happened for me. That was the number one thing. The second thing that happened in my life is I grew up with a single mother, and my mother in Europe, men are expected to be more open, vulnerable, more in touch with their emotions, while here in US, vulnerability can be seen as a weakness sometimes, especially for men. My mother taught me from day one, you got to think we accomplish things, we together do things. And I think she trained me to really, I have a lot of respect for that woman. She's still alive, 80 years old.
Nice.
Very strong-minded woman. But what I wanted to say is, I think she taught me to see everyone, and it's not a political view, but everyone have their uniqueness. You just have to figure it out. And she always said to me, as soon as you assume a person is a certain way, that's when you start failing. Instead, assume that you're going to learn something new from every interaction with another human. And as a result, you will always find, she coined the diamond in the rough. You will always see the diamond in the rough. And thereby, if you focus on that, you will build better relationships with everyone in your life. And that have stuck with me. And then the third thing that happened is, long answer, by the way. I have a child with autism, and he is today 10. He was diagnosed when he was 3, 4. And that taught me as well that in order for you to focus on building someone up, you have to really see them for who they are. And sometimes people's emotions get in their own way, or they get in their own space, and you have to stay calm, resilient, and things you thought were never possible to do, for example, with a child with autism, is absolutely possible. You just have to keep working at it. So what he taught me is resilience, never give up, listen to everyone. And I was a CEO of a large company, not large, but owned by Canon after a while. And I reported all the way up to the top there, 200,000 employees. And I ran a separate company at age 37, which is very young for Japanese business culture, by the way. But what I learned there is never judge a person walking in the door, and instead figure out what is their unique strength, and then how can you create a situation for such an individual to always be the best that they are in that moment. And if you take those 3 life lessons and you constantly think that way, I think you can level up a lot of people. And I have many life mantras, but one of them for companies is growing people tend to create growing organizations, and the opposite is also true. So my ultimate job as a leader is to grow people. In order for me to grow them, I have to figure out what the uniqueness are with them and put them in a situation where they can shine and be amazing.
That is beautiful. It makes me want to cry.
And I love doing it. Like, Matt, when I have people who reaches out years later and they're like, oh, Andreas, you were such an asshole in that moment when you told me what I couldn't understand was the truth. And it completely changed how I operate. and I know it was hard for you to tell me, because I'm a very radical, candor, direct. I will tell you what you're amazing at, but I'll also say things you should stay away from.
Right.
And when you have people thanking you years later for seeing something in them, they're like, you were such an asshole, but you always cared. You always cared. You wanted what was best for me. I was just not ready to receive it. Like, man, I have one crazy story. I fired a person because they were just not a culture fit. They were a really sharp dude or guy. This was years ago, an executive. He ended up getting his dream job directly after. And now we were raising capital for another real estate deal. And I haven't really kept in touch with him, a few text messages here or there, because I really liked the guy, but he was just too big company for where we were at the time. And I made mistakes as well. Like, I didn't set him up to win there. I actually learned a lot from it, and I apologized afterwards.
Yeah.
But now that we were raising capital for real estate, Matt, I had this guy, he's like, I want to invest with you. I'm like, I fired you. And he's like, yeah, it was the best life lessons I got. Like, thank you. I'm like,
he respected you for that. Yeah.
That talks a lot. That says a lot about that guy, actually. But he's a very, like I said, very sharp guy. And I believe if others, I got helped, I got it out of my own way. Like I said, I cried the first 30 minutes, stuck the knife in, and just kept poking around that psychologist. I believe the cure for you to be the best who you are and live your full potential is awareness. Like, you just got to know. And I think that the brain is wired to protect you. It's survival instinct. So you won't know unless someone else tells you in many situations. And therefore, I believe in radical candor, directness, no emotions. It just is what it is. But if you now combine that with what my mother taught me and the experience with my son, I have a passion in life for helping people.
That's incredible. Yeah. I think what speaks to me is looking at, if you got an organization, you got a team, or you got, people you're working with, or in your case, helping people, it's looking at each person as an individual and what they're bringing to the world uniquely, and how they would fit into a position, instead of trying to just throw somebody into a position that's defined and you, like you said, you kind of mold it around them. And I think, you understand what their strengths are. Maybe they shouldn't be doing this thing, or we can change this so they can work better, based on their personality or their skill sets. And that's a continuous thing. I know, I run a development team, a design team, same thing. It's just kind of being observing and seeing how they do in certain situations. Even, and like you said, sometimes they won't admit or know or think if they should be doing something or not, but you're the one that has to be like, I don't think you should be doing this, or we find somebody else to do this. You should be doing this over here, or whatever. That whole idea of looking at people as individuals, and one-on-one, seeing that person.
Yeah. And you also have to, in your case, you're basically talking about feedback. So part of it is you kind of see the map and the lay of the land and who to play what player where. I mean, that's what coaches and leaders do. And then the second thing is you have to give people feedback, because people don't know and they don't always want to hear it. And it's good and bad feedback. I always say, for every negative or improvement feedback, awareness feedback. And I think people shouldn't look at at conflict. Feedback isn't conflict. It isn't negative. It's awareness. You're helping the other person. But for every one awareness feedback, I would argue you need to give them 4, 5 positive reinforcement. That's
100%. Yeah.
And so many leaders forget that. It's free. That tool is free. Anyone can do it. For some reason, people don't do it. They don't slow down, take 5 minutes and think, who on my team needs to know that they're doing an amazing job? And also, what is their love language? I know it sounds weird in this context. Do they like public recognition? Do they want to be given a hug and tell them they're amazing? A handshake? Do they want a trophy? Do they want monetary? Do they want title? Everyone assumes that people thrive off of titles and money. I can tell you, when we ran our software engineering company, even when we were plus 100 people, We had several people who were offered like 50% salary. We were in the AI space and video and so on. So we had employees that were offered 50% salary increases, and they decided to stay. Why?
Nice.
Because they felt that they could grow their career as a leader. They could grow their career as a team leader, as a whatever it was, their technology leader. It doesn't matter. And we even had people who left, were gone for 2-3 months, came back and said, that company's culture is toxic. I don't care about the money right now. I want other things in life. So why is that? Because we tended to grow people, everyone in my executive team, because, and this was the hardest part for me as a CEO, I can't touch everyone. When the company scales up, you can't be involved in everyone. And that's the classical, when you're making up to 1 to 3 million in revenue, you can just grind to get there. And then when you're 3 to 8, 9, 10 million, depending on the size of your company, it's all process, procedures, blah, blah, blah. Many of people I've worked with, they forget leadership is the thing, how you get from 10 to 100 million or 10 to 50 million. And because you cannot be involved in everything, and you need to spend the time of leveling up your executive team, figuring out what is our executive leadership culture, what is it like, what is our growth initiatives for all our employees. Because if you as a CEO don't spend time grooming them to think the same way, they're not going to raise up people. They will do the opposite. People are wired to be protecting their territory. Silos now starts being built. Politics creeps in. No, you kill that by open, direct, radical candor, feedback culture, a good company culture where everyone can speak up. No one sits on high horses. And yeah, that's how you grow a company beyond that point. And many people, they forget it. See, it's sad.
Yeah. It's probably, because you have to have the top has to buy into that first, right? And then that trickles down.
And so many people, I meet so many CEOs, Matt, that are, they become the chief problem solver. They were just grinding it between up to getting the first few millions. They hired the first 10, 20 people. And now they're like, we're plateauing. We're stuck. We don't get further. Yeah, you're focusing on the wrong things. Like, you're not the chief problem solver anymore. And you have to learn to delegate. You have to learn to level up people. And that's how you grow. You got to incentivize people, not just titles and money, but other things like passion, your passion. You got to have a proper company culture, an intent, a very purposeful one. I'm not arguing. Like, you still, in the end of the day, you're there to make money. Like, it's not an adult daycare where people show up and they get fed and they go home. Like, no, it's still like people still have to deliver and do their job. I'm all for working hard, but you can grow a company by keep focusing on results and not trusting people and be a chief problem solver. You can grind your way to a lot of money. But in the end of the day, if you want to scale your company, you have to scale it through leadership, through the right processes, through the right company culture. And that's how you scale something.
Interesting. Yeah,
it's a mindset shift. You go from fear-based to abundance-based mindset.
I think when I'm thinking of that, I think, I have only ever run small businesses. So I've never had $100 million company. So I don't know.
Not an only. That's a mindset thing, like, right? Running small. Some people, they are like, I want to stay there. I don't want to grow it further. It's I work with those people as well. But then it's a matter of, okay, how do we put the right leadership in place so you get more spare time, so you can go and take on more customers, so you're not the person who is involved in everything.
Yeah, right. Like my goal isn't at 100 million. I'm probably just a small 5 or 10. All right. But my thought process though is it's interesting, even as you grow, even in the beginning, the first few years, how as a leader, as the founder, you have to change with your organization as it grows and get to certain stages and like I said, start to extract yourself from certain activities and build those leaders, give them problems to solve. It's a beautiful thing.
That's why I labeled my company Leaders Adapt, because leaders needs to always be adapting. If they're not adapting, they're dying. Constant change.
Well, you said you said in before we got on this call, we were chatting away. And then I said, maybe we should do a podcast today. But you said something that you do, or like your approach to everything is, what's it called? Is it inspect and adapt?
Yeah.
Something like that.
And
explain that.
Yeah. So I learned that if you want to, it comes from another philosophy I have, which is you can live 10 physical years on this planet and get 1 year experience. Or you can get 10 years experience in 1 year. Curiosity is king. If you want to go fast, you want to learn a lot of things, you got to get more curious. You got to stop with the assumptions and just get curious on your business, on sales, on marketing, every part of your business. What I meant with inspect and adapt is a lot of people, they put, especially people that come from the W-2 world and they start their own company, they go like, oh, I need to create a 12 months plan, and we got to create goals because that's what I did in my corporate job. But in a startup, it's like inspect and adapt, get curious, analyze everything all the time and adapt all the time. Like things don't run in budget cycles in a startup. And you have to constantly figure out what gives me the most revenue, what gives me more runway. How am I constantly running experiments? So, and for example, I talked to one person yesterday, and she goes, I've had my way of doing things, and it's been going good in 24, but now in 25, like I don't know how to really get it going. I'm like, okay. Run experiments. Like, don't trash your offer, but then go to one or two of your clients and say, hey, I've been thinking about expanding and adding a couple of more things. So now she's inspecting, she's getting curious, she's trying to understand, can she build a value add service? And then when she gets signal, then she do it a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and then she can roll it out to everyone. That's what I mean with inspect and adapt. You always have to be inspecting your business and adapting your business. But don't go like, let's pivot everything 100%, or let's go like it. And that would be like you, Matt, going from, I run a web agency, I'm going to start a sales agency going to, like, we're going to go all sales tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah, no, if you want to increase sales, like then run experiments within sales, inspect and adapt. And another mantra, and we talked about it before we started, it's the ready, fire, aim perspective. I meet a lot of people who are aiming. They join masterminds. They read books. They talk to people. They network. They aim for years. And I was actually pretty harsh with one person that reached out on social media recently. And she was like, I've been doing this now for 2 years, and I joined all these master classes, and I'm paying all this money, but I'm not getting results. And I go, well, what actions have you taken? Crickets. Just silence. Like, no, true. What actions have you taken? And she wants to raise capital for, she's in a multifamily real estate investing community. And I just asked her, like, okay, how many people on your cell phone have you reached out to saying that you're going to raise capital for multifamily investments? Right now, how many? And she's like, yeah, I've talked to 2-3 people. Okay, you've been in these classes for 2 years. You've talked to 2-3 people. I'm like, why are you not just doing it?
Excuse the interruption, but I'd like to take a quick moment to thank the sponsors of the Builders Podcast, Unified Web Design and Unified Plugins. At Unified Web Design, we specialize in crafting custom websites and providing comprehensive design and development solutions to help businesses build a strong online presence. Unified Plugins offers a suite of WordPress tools designed to help you create beautiful websites, enhance functionality, and drive conversions. Explore how these services can elevate your digital projects by visiting unifiedwebdesign.com and unifiedplugins.com. Now back to our program.
Yeah, but I don't have a deal. Well, you can invest in other people's deals. Like, just go through your phone and pick out 50 people, call 2 people every single day from now on, explain to them that you're raising capital, explain to them that you're working on deploying the capital. The results will be you're looking at these type of returns, and say, are you interested? Can I get your email? put their email on a newsletter or a weekly update or monthly update, start sending the information to them. And now you have a deal. Now you have maybe 20, 30 people you can do it with. And do that for a couple of weeks. And I said, like, why start with 2? Like, if I were you, I would call 5, 10 people a day. And if you've done that for 2 weeks, you have taken more action than you have done for 2 years. That's what I mean. You can live a long time and not get any results, not any learnings. Here was the problem with her. Fear of rejection. She was afraid that she was going down this path and she was afraid to get rejected. Or a little bit, she was actually afraid to win as well. So what I was then having a quick conversation with her about, like, okay, let's talk about your self-worth then. Because if you don't think you're worthy of this, but you're putting a lot of money into it, why are you doing that? Like, what is it that you're trying to achieve here? And she just goes like, oh, yeah, you're right. I'm like, yeah, just do it. 2 weeks. See what you come up with. And now she pinged me and she's like, yeah, I got 5 investors. This was a few weeks ago. But she's like, I have 5 investors now that are interested in putting in some money. I'm like, yeah, see, 2 years, spend a couple of weeks. She didn't do the number I asked her to do, but that's fine. But she at least took action. So this is what I mean. If you're currently doing something and you're not getting what you're looking for, inspect and adapt. But adapt means you got to change. You got to change your mindset. You got to change your approach.
Right. Taking action.
Just keep firing. Just keep firing. Like, you're ready. Just start firing. And then you start aiming once you have figured out what is working or not working. That was a long rant.
No, this is all gold. I mean, and we're going to get into, because I want to see how you kind of applied this to your own business and stuff. But I just wanted to comment on that, because this is really powerful stuff. Your mindset is so much of it. I mean, you can have a lot of knowledge about a lot of stuff, but if you don't have the right mindset and the right approach and thinking about this stuff, and taking action, I kind of.
Do you know which people have a lot of knowledge? Professors in schools. They have a lot of knowledge. How much money are they making?
Yeah.
How much are they working hard? They have a lot of knowledge. Do you want to become a professor or an entrepreneur that makes money?
And then people are learning from these people that aren't taking action. They're just spewing the knowledge that they're.
Because a professor is there to teach you something. He's not there, or she is not there to get you to take action. I'm not trashing on educations. I am well educated, and I believe education is great, but you got to take action.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. But so I want to just use this as an example. So I kind of go way back on the internet. I've been around for more than 20 years. In the first decade I was online, though, I did a lot of internet marketing, what we call internet marketing back then. And it was just affiliate marketing. I sold my own digital products, memberships. I did all kinds of stuff back in the day, before I became this web design development guy. But I remember, and I sold like training programs and stuff. It was actually around pay-per-click advertising, affiliate marketing. And, but back in those days, it was always this kind of, we always talk about a lot of the people were selling these products too, to teach them how to do stuff. Everyone's selling products about teaching people how to do stuff. And you would see people going from one thing to the next thing to the next shiny object. We call them shiny objects, of course. And they would be consuming, they'd be involved in communities, they'd be doing, and nowadays you'd be in masterminds or whatever you're doing out there, and you're constantly consuming, and probably for different reasons, maybe the reasons, the person you were talking about has, or it's an imposter syndrome and I don't feel like I'm ready, or whatever. But you would do something like you make money at it, but you could see other people kind of come through. Like they would try it for a minute. I would get, because I taught people pay-per-click and affiliate marketing, and I'd been at it for years, but I'd see something, and after 2 weeks, I'm like, this isn't working for me. It's like, it's 2 weeks. But that's the type, but it's that. It's not only it's just taking action, but it's sticking to something and seeing it through.
you got to stick to it longer. Like like I say to people, if you're running an experiment, like here is what I advise people: make a decision within 24 to 48 hours, run a quick experiment for at least 30 days, then make the real decision if you're going to kill it or keep going. If you get some signal that you're heading in the right direction, commit to 3 months. Because you're not an expert. You don't know shit after a short amount of time. After 3 months, you at least know what you don't know. Like you at least have a good feeling of what areas you should be understanding and getting more experience in.
I like what you say about signals though, because everything's different. I mean, what depends on the context, but even like what we would run these. My product was called campaign blasting. We would have blast challenges. So for a month, you would launch so many campaigns and you would get results. Everybody that ever did it got results. And that's all we would ask. We'd give this a month, 6 weeks, you will know. You will see the signal that this works. And then, like you said, maybe you try it for a few more months, but not everyone makes it that far.
Yeah. People give up too quickly. It's like, oh, I read a book. Let's try one thing. Like, great. You actually tried something. I mean, we can talk about, I think we have an education pandemic in this country sometimes with people who are just educating themselves without taking action. But but at least if you do one thing, but then that's the thing, like you do it for a couple of days and then like, oh, no, it didn't stick. But if you want to create a habit, you have to do it for months. You have to, like, things don't just happen magically. You can win the lottery. Some people do. And that's the people you see in social media. They're like, I did this for 2 weeks and now I'm a multi-billionaire. And like, and by the way, don't get me started on people on social media. As I'm on social media, but the people who, like, I'm so tired of the agencies on social media. Now, I don't want to trash on them, but let's just say there's a lot of gens.
I love how you're censoring yourself. No.
There's a lot of
gens
out there who are selling, this is how you do social media. Look at me. I grew my company to $200,000 a month. I keep getting these ads all the time. Apparently, I'm doing something wrong because I keep getting ads. And I think, okay, so I talked to a few of them because I was just curious to see what they have to offer. Like, I am doing really well. I do all these ads on social media. I do this, I do that. I'm like, yeah, but you're selling a service on the platform that you're selling. That's a very different thing from selling a product or selling a service that have nothing to do on the media you're already on. So you cannot compare these two things. Like, I trying to come up with another analogy. But yeah, if I'm standing right in front of a nail and someone comes and sells me a hammer and I don't have one, yeah, I'm kind of interested in a hammer right now. But I'm not interested in a hammer like it's all, anyway, don't get me going on that. Sorry, I can talk about that for hours. What I was trying to say is people got to commit to things. They got to inspect and adapt. And that's back to the ready. They are ready. I believe everyone is ready today. I can meet anyone, Matt. And if they are contemplating doing something, after I talk to them for 30 minutes, I know that they're ready. And if they're not ready, I will tell them why they're ready. Just fire. Just take action. Just start doing something. And
where you are now. Yeah.
Then aim. Then inspect what happened. And then you aim quickly. So you tried one thing, it didn't work, or it worked a little bit. Focus. Okay, what worked? What didn't work? I'm ready. Let's go again. Don't get stagnant. And it's that fear of rejection, fear of, am I wasting time? Yeah, you're wasting time by educating yourself. You're wasting time paying for these masterminds and master classes and whatever that is. Like, just start doing that. Talk to other people. Surround yourself with action takers. That's how you make a difference.
Yeah, and you're going to fail at first. You're going to run down some dead ends and I mean, again, translating this to business, like building a business.
Yeah.
When you start out, you kind of have a theory of what you're going to do, some kind of idea and plan. And then if it's anything like my business, like my agency, we're in the 7th year. It looks very different from year 1 or 2 when Matt was just trying to figure things out and throwing stuff at the wall and kind of like you said,
but you
listening.
were taking action. You were trying things. You were throwing things at the wall.
Taking action, and that's exactly right. You know, in every way possible. I look for the opportunities. Shout to the world what you're doing, and and start, taking whatever you can take in the beginning, but eventually you'll start. You mentioned something like this, where you, I've kind of lost it though, but I'm losing my train of thought. But it's trying until taking action until, and you get to this point where there's certain things that are going to not work. I think it was around listening. That's what I was trying to get at, where you're listening, you're taking action based on the feedback you're getting and all that stuff. And eventually one of the things you said, I think, was basically going to a client, going to a customer, asking them, running stuff by them. I think that's what you said.
You experiment. So
experimenting. Just try ideas, and if somebody lights up, maybe that's something you could do, right?
And the ultimate definition, if you have a good product or service, is when you tell a customer, client, partner that, hey, I'm thinking of killing this service. I'm thinking of changing it. When they go, no, don't stop that. If 4 out of 10 says that, you have a really good service.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
So you can also do it the reverse way. I'm thinking of changing. And if you go, I'm kind of happy with what you have, good, lean into that more, what you already have then.
Yeah. I like that too.
One thing I have, I'll talk a little bit about building my own companies now and how that's compared to what I used to do. So when we started this software company, cloud-based video surveillance, 2017, we raised a lot of capital. We had a possibility to do a lot. I chose to exit the corporate world. I was offered to stay when we merged the company here end of last year. I wanted to give back. I wanted to help others with all the, like you said, the company that I had 7 years ago is not the company I have today. I would even say, Matt, you are not the same person you were 7 years ago. And you have changed. You have morphed in. You have all that experience today. So if you were to restart it today, you would do it very differently than you did 7 years ago, because you have all the knowledge, because you took all the action. So after me being in the corporate world for 15, 16, 17 years and being an executive for a decade, I see the patterns. I've seen the patterns with myself. I've seen the patterns with others. And I realize I'm more fulfilled helping others. I still get job offers. I still get CEO job offers. I'm not interested in that. It's not a money thing for me right now. I get fulfillment when I've helped someone else. And now, but since I am building a business that is and it is a leadership advisory, a board advisory, I help executives, I help vice presidents level up their games. Sometimes I even work with people who are starting up their companies, and they're like, I call it a W-2 detox. I need to detox my W-2 big company mindset. But here's the idea. I already done something. Can you help me? So sometimes I also help the founding of the company. I'm doing everything on a much more organic, scalable way compared to what I used to be able to do. And part of that is I'm obviously investing money into it, but it's a very different game when you're selling yourself as a brand, or you are the brand versus you're offering a product or a service.
Right.
And as a result, I have to approach things a little bit more frugal, a little bit more different. I'm fortunate enough to be in a good spot in life, so I'm fine, but I don't want to live a too frugal life either. So obviously, I want to keep living the life I had as a tech CEO. And in order to do that, I have to be mindful of my costs. So what I've figured out is how to set up all the sales processes, the lead generation processes, not to overthink it. I'm as scrappy as I possibly can get, but still get the results, and it's yielding results. And now I'm sitting here and I'm thinking afterwards, and I'm talking to, so one of my clients, she does about 30, 40 million a year. And now I had a conversation with her, it was 2 weeks ago. I'm like, you're pissing away money. like I cracked the code of, she's trying to, I can't go in too much in details, but she's establishing a new product. They acquired a company, they're establishing a new product. And she was talking about the marketing budget she was going to spend and how she was going to go to market and the bids she got in, like hundreds of thousands of dollars bids. I go, why the hell are, like, why? And I really challenged it. And I was like, you can do this way more scrappy. You already have a channel. So she is in the private equity space. So you already have these marketing and sales channels for these other companies. Why don't you just have your sales team start referencing the new product and mentioning it? Like, why are you paying
leverage what you have, right?
Thousands of dollars in marketing when you have a sales problem? And we always done it that way. Yeah, I know, but think more scrappy. So what I'm trying to, and you and I talked about this early on about the fractional work, because you mentioned that you have also seen some in 2025 businesses going good. You have new business coming in, but I've seen that happen recently as well. There's more and more people who subscribe to the fractional approach where you, and in this case, she was telling me like, we need to hire a chief marketing officer. We need to do this and that. I'm like, why? Like, go out and hire a person 1 day a week, focus more on sales, establish the product that way. And also the targets they had and the expectations they had, they weren't crazy. So I'm like, why are you doing it? Yeah, because we always done it this way. And this is back to inspect and adapt, mindset, curiosity. So how does this reflect on me? I wished I had done the scrappy startup bootstrapped approach years ago. I would have not made as many mistakes as I did.
It's interesting. So you came from a business that was pretty well financed and larger, and then when you spun off to kind of do this thing you're doing now, what was that transition like? Was it abrupt, and why did you decide to just bootstrap it and be scrappy?
Because I could invest more money and go quicker if I want to.
Yeah.
And you're right. And also we can talk about the mindset shift when you have a full executive team, hundreds of people, like, and budgets, deep pockets. Like, it is a very different mindset. I felt if I don't learn this the scrappy way, I will not be able to communicate with my clients and help them in a scrappy way. Because many of the clients I work with are in that they're trying to break the 8-figure, basically. They're trying to get into the 10 million in revenue. And some of them are doing just a few 100,000, and some of them are doing a few million or mid-range there. And the journey there, it's very different, but they still don't have the means that I had access to when we were running the software company. So I wanted to also just change my own mindset. So again, I'm inspecting and adapting in order for me to give better advice that fits companies in that range where they're at and where I used to be, but I was well-funded.
Interesting. So you kind of like self-educated yourself by forcing yourself to do something in a specific way.
And you can do things very scrappy. And I'm all for hiring in US, but I'm also all for outsourcing.
Yeah.
Delegation. I'm a firm believer that if I spend 10% coming up with the strategy, delegate 80%, and then make it cross the finish line on the last 10%, I kept that mindset, and that's what I'm doing. Sometimes I'm hiring people here in the US. Sometimes I'm hiring people abroad. What I have learned, though, is fractional is king. Like, I am not at a point in my own business, and I still make good money, actually. I make more than I thought I would after 3.5 months. Thank you, all my clients who keep referring other clients. But what I'm saying is that I still believe I gotta be adapting again to the people I am talking to. And I charge a premium for what I offer, and I get them the results. They can do it themselves. Many of my clients, they can do it themselves. They might get the same result over 3-4 years, or they can work with me for 4 to 6 months and get the same results. And you know how compound growth works, right? So the quicker you get it but I had to adapt to they don't have all the means, and I have to think more scrappy in general. And they're paying me good money, and they want the results. So I have to also give them the advice accordingly.
But I think I would assume that your past experience though kind of also helps. Like you're doing the scrappy thing, but you also have seen the bigger operation.
I have worked in thousands of people. I have worked in hundreds. I worked in tens. I have started multiple things myself, either as a side business that still generates a lot of money. Some are passive, some are a little active. And also do angel investment, and I'm an advisor for several other tech companies. So it's obviously
you do a few things.
I get a lot of inspiration from a lot of people. Absolutely. Am I using everything I have learned, especially from a leadership strategy in business, from my other startups? 1,000%, obviously, because most clients I work with, they're actually not in the tech. They are private equity, they are brick and mortar, they're service industry, they are, and it's very few tech actually, because they're more well funded. They can just put someone in place. I even work with some non-for-profit organizations because it's close to my heart and I want to help them. What I'm saying is that all knowledge, everything you have experienced and done, it can be applied. But here are some warning bells, and I said this to someone else recently. It's if you're a startup, and let's say that you're making $3 to $5 million, and you have this beautiful candidate, amazing candidate coming from a large company, been doing W-2, corporate job, big company. It's the company you want to be 10 years from now. Don't hire that person. If they don't have a startup experience, they will never function in a smaller company because they are used to the W-2 unlimited budget. Right. Everything's possible. I can delegate everything. That doesn't work in a startup. I think part of my learnings is I used to be part of an incubation and ventures team within the company. We took all crazy ideas no one else wanted to do, and we literally started them from scratch. We started like smaller companies from scratch, and we got them into a few million in revenue, and then we handed them off to the mothership. And we did multiple iterations of this. I think that's where I learned the true scrappiness, let's go fast, let's go mentality, get shit done mentality. But I also have the corporate background. I'm warning everyone who listens to this. If you're looking for that unicorn hire and you're looking at a big company and you find a great candidate, they will mess up your startup unless they have done startups themselves before. I have seen it happen so many times. I made the mistake myself. Do not hire, unless they have done startups, do not hire them.
That's actually a really great perspective. I did have a corporate job for like 4 years as a web developer. I worked for a smaller corp. I remember this. I remember, I think I was like reporting to the CEO. It's again, small company. So we're still friends today. Hi, Dolan. But I just remember, I don't know if it was him I was talking to or who I was talking to there, but there was like, the people they have now at this stage of their growth and where they are is not the same people they'll have at another point in their growth. Like as things scale up, those people that were in the startup world or whatever in the beginning of the company, you're gonna go past them. You're gonna need different types of people as you go. But it also works in the reverse. You can't have that person way up here back in the startup because it is a completely different way you run a company and the thought process and mindset probably.
Yeah. I would say if you're hiring someone, and I get a lot of questions about this, Matt. Here's how I've broken it down. And you probably know AOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System, but I do that combined with. So is the person getting it? Do they want it? Do they have the capacity to do it? Are they a culture fit? And if you answer no on any of those questions, do not hire the person. If you're thinking they will grow into the role, do not hire that person. The last thing is, have they been in this stage before? And there is a brilliant article out there. I don't know if I can give it to you afterwards, and you can post it when you post this episode, but it's called The 5 Stages of a Startup. And the 5 stages are, number 1 is you build an MVP, then you look for product and messaging fit, then you look for channel fit, then you take in capital to grow it, often through hiring leaders and hiring the next layers up, and you just expand land grab. And then the last is you grow through mergers and acquisitions. If you're hiring someone, you need to hire someone who has been in the phase you're in currently, but have also lived in the next 2 phases. If you do that, so that's what I mean, have they experienced this phase? That's the last of my 5 questions. Meaning, if I have a startup, or I'm trying to find product fit, or messaging fit, or I'm trying to establish a channel, or I'm trying to figure out who to partner with, or whatever it is, you have to have someone who have been in that phase before. They don't have to have been in the previous phases, but in the current phase. And you as an entrepreneur, you as a founder, have to be very honest with yourself, because I see people jumping over the product fit and messaging fit all the time and going straight for, let's build a channel. If we just get this partner, we will grow the company. You won't. Like, you have to get repeatable patterns of success with your messaging and with your product first. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is, even if you have a person who goes, yeah, but 20 years ago, I did another startup. Like, yeah, no, they have to have been in that phase in the last 5 years. If they have, they can help you. And then they can come from a big company. They can have taken a unicorn from an early phase to an IPO or to a sale. That's fine. But they have to experience the early stages before and within the last 5 years. Then you can transplant them.
Interesting. Yeah. So when you're looking for somebody, it's not just their skill or personality, or like, what have they done, and have they done something similar to where you are right now, or you said those two next stages. That's interesting.
And as soon as you think they will grow into it, ding, 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 warning flag.
No, you're not going to train them into it.
Oh, it will work. It will work if you're willing to put years into it, and if you have years. But do not compromise. Do not settle with the wrong person. Then go get a fractional person for now. Pay a little bit more than per hour, but still less than you would pay for the full time. Just do not hire the wrong people. And if you hire the wrong people, fire them. So hire slow, fire fast. If you think, or you have a gut feeling that this person, like, I'm not sure they're correct, you have 30 days to get rid of them. Like, you gotta act instantly. Or you gotta have a come to Jesus conversation with them, and if they still don't change, they're out 30 days. Like, do not wait. You're wasting time. Yeah, but they are doing all these great things, and what if, and yeah, they might be an asshole, and yeah, they might be screaming at some of the employees. Like, yeah, no, get rid of them. Step in yourself, just get a temporary person, and then move on.
Yeah, that's something I've had to grapple with myself.
Most people you know what? They come to me like, I have a business strategy problem. No. Every single time I start working with someone, it's a mindset problem, and they have hired the wrong people, or they haven't fired the people that shouldn't be around anymore. Always the case.
So you're pretty early in your building then of you said 3.5 months?
Yeah, but I have been doing it on the side for a long time. So
you're on the side, okay. So you just went.
Yeah, I made, I don't want to disclose the numbers because I still was not supposed to work on this last year. But anyway,
we won't tell anyone.
Let's just say I made many of hundreds of thousands of dollars last year on this as a side business.
Well, that's a good signal that you should do it as more than a side business then.
And that's why
that was a good experiment.
And it was an experiment. I ran an experiment last year. I kept getting clients. Then I was really busy with the merger. So between June to November, I was in a dark place. Like, I was working all the time, every weekend, and also making sure all employees landed in a good role. Everyone was taken care of. And then we had the discussions about me not staying on because I was like, I'm not passionate about the new merger, the company we merged with. And they offered me, I can't think I can say this, but let's just say they offered me more or less a 50% salary increase for staying for 2 years. I shouldn't say that officially, but I was like, I can't. Like, it's not worth it for me. And I wanted to do this instead, the passion project. But then I still have. Last year, I had to put people on a waiting list because I couldn't take more clients at the time. Right now, I might be full now again from what I want to do. I want to work, so I don't want to have too many clients. Currently, I have 7. I am going to some of them are more maintenance that I'm helping, and people I have helped a little longer, and now I am sort of weaving them off because I don't believe in helping people. Like, if I am a crutch to them and they stick around forever, I have messed up. Like, I want to help them, send them on their way.
Right.
So I'm in the tail end of some of them, but I want to cap it. Like, I want to, around 5 people, that's where I deliver the most value for people.
Yeah, I like that. It's the same with my agency. It's like, for the last 7 years, it's always been, I'm going to build something boutique. I don't have any interest in building 1,000-person organization. I mean, it could happen. I'm never saying never, but it's serving just a smaller group of clients and managing that.
And I don't want to do that.
So you can add more value.
Yeah, I want to. What I live off of is getting phone calls, messages. People are telling me how the advice I gave them impacted their lives, how transformational it was. Like, I can't explain the feeling. So do you see yourself, I don't know if you got somebody helping you now, I don't know what's all involved with what you deliver. But do you see yourself building a team and do you have kind of your next hires in mind and all that? Yeah. So what I did, and there is an amazing book. Can I show a book I think is really good?
Yeah. Yeah.
So Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it.
I really like that book. There are many other books like it. That just happened to be the one in favor right now. Why I think it's really good. It talks about what you should be delegating and how to basically get more time back in what you're doing. So
love that.
I have a social media manager. I have a marketing person that helps with marketing. I'm about to get someone. I am two open headcounts right now. One is a video editor, and the other person is sales focused role. I also have a writer that helps me English as second language. So when I write something, it sounds like Swedish English. I have to have someone rewrite it, and I don't like the AI versions. Yeah. And I have an executive assistant as well.
Very nice.
So
you kind of built this framework around yourself, and you're doing the core work. And that's 10, brilliant.
80-10. Yeah. I do the 10% strategy. I delegate 80% of the work, and then I make sure it has the quality level, the last 10%. So if you go to my website, you can see in the last 3 months, it's leadersadapt.com. I think I've written 30 blog posts. I have done leadership assessment things. I think I've created 10, 12 ebooks about tools for leadership. I have built a whole leadership course that I haven't even launched yet that I'm going to give away for free for all my clients because I kept getting the question from the founders, like, couldn't you come in and do an executive retreat? I'm like, no, but I can give you the slides so you can do it because you need to be leading. So I have built 15 mini courses actually. So 15, 15, and 15. It's 200 slides. So
wow.
Keep everything. I'm a very productive person, action taking. But now, and I build up the business where I can afford to delegate. But like I said, I'm still capping at about 5 people that I work with full time. The only thing I'm contemplating and adding, and that's because several of my former clients wanted this, they said, we're part of Vistage, but it's kind of local and people don't really have the same mindset of growth. Would you be interested in creating a peer group where it's all CEOs from different companies and we meet once a month, and can you facilitate that? And that's something I'm considering doing as a new offering. And yeah, I'm considering a lot. I also want to build my own.
You're doing a lot.
I want to have my own podcast, and I'm taking a lot of notes for a book I want to write. But my point is, people ask me, don't you ever sleep? I'm like, but I just do something every single day. You have to take action. You have to keep doing things if you want to see the results. You cannot sit and binge watch things. You cannot waste time on things in your life. Like imagine if you're hyper focused for just a few months. Like I've built a lot of things now in the last 3 months. Hyper focused. That means I do it whenever I have free time. I don't sit. I was walking around. I took a flight 2 days ago from Florida. I onboarded a new client out there in Orlando, and I was flying back, and I was like, now I'm going to date myself. I was like, I remember a time where people were all reading books on the flight. Now everyone was sitting like mindless drones staring into their phones and playing poker or Candy Crush or browsing social, forever scrolling, death scrolling. And I'm the only one on the flight sitting and reading books. Why am I doing that? Because I had another client that had a problem with something, and I've been trying to find a solution or help her get out of that. And I'm like, okay, I got to read this book. So I read a full book on the flight home, called her up the day after with the solution. But that's what I mean. Like I find ways to optimize my time in everything I do, and most people don't. So people ask me, how do you have time to do all of this? And I still read like 2 books a month. I'm like, yeah, because I live purposeful.
Right. You're not
That's how you
wasting your time. Yeah.
It's not more complicated than that. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You just have to take action.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest lesson from this whole conversation is the action piece. Well, I'm going to stop us right here. You already kind of gave us a little bit of a taste of where somebody can learn more about what you do and where you can help. They can get help from you. And what was that URL again?
So you can go to leadersadapt.com.
Okay.
And then I always say to people, reach out on social media, Instagram. If something I said resonated or you have a problem, like reach out to me, tell me what your problem is. You don't have to become a client. I won't chase you. I get good references as it is, but I will try to help you. And what I offer and what I often do with people is like, if people want me to publish content about something, so they can reach me at Andreas the CEO. That's my Instagram. That's actually my social media handle on all platforms, but Instagram is the platform I'm most active on. And if people have questions and I can point them in a direction, I gladly do so, because my life mission right now is I want to help 10,000 entrepreneurs be successful. And I can't have 10,000 clients, but I can at least give them advice on what I have experienced and send them in the right direction.
I love when somebody has a number. I want to help 10,000 people. That's common.
It's measurable.
Yeah.
You have to be measurable.
Yeah.
Like I'm reading 2 books a month on purpose.
Right.
I am helping 5. I want to stick to 5 clients. Like I know I have experimented enough to know everything has to be a number. If not everything I do have a number, it won't happen.
Interesting. And the last thing I was going to ask you where you hung out. It sounds like you hang out on Instagram. I think that's not super common. Usually it's like LinkedIn or something like that. You must just love Instagram.
I'm on LinkedIn as well. I'm just saying that Instagram, and I'm active on LinkedIn. I post things there every week. I do 3 posts a week at least, a personal, a professional, and a promotional. But Instagram is where I have most of my friends, the people I talk to, the people that I get inspired by.
Nice.
LinkedIn for me is, it's more corporate, and I help people there as well. And I put out content there. It's more, I get so many messages there and a lot of spam, so I can't see through it all.
Yeah,
that's why Instagram has proven to be a better, like I can still get an overview of that.
All right. Well, it's been great having you. It's been a great conversation. A lot of good nuggets in there for people to learn from. A lot of good lessons. Appreciate you joining us, Andreas. Until next time.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Builders Podcast. One more quick note about our sponsors. At Unified Web Design, we're passionate about doing better together, partnering with agencies and businesses to deliver exceptional web design, development, and ongoing support. And Unified Plugins offers tools to take your WordPress projects to the next level, helping you build beautiful websites, enhance functionality, and drive more conversions. If you haven't already, subscribe or follow to stay updated on future episodes. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, sharing it with somebody who might benefit helps us grow this amazing community. Until next time, keep building with intention and creativity.